Here's my audience. My name is Kayla Hall, and this is my informative speech, and it is about anxiety. It's as if the sufferer is trapped in a box that he or she desperately needs to get out of. It stops the individual in their tracks, and the panic settles in. It all hits at once: the uncontrollable shaking, the cold chills, stomachs in knots, their heart is beating out of their chest. Sweating profusely, hands go numb. It's getting hard to breathe. Every noise is echoing. It's like everybody is watching, but nobody understands. At this moment, whatever the anxiety sufferer is freaking out about, it's the most important thing on their mind. And something has to change quickly so that this feeling can go away. After he or she calms down, they wonder why they got so worked up. What I just read to you was something that I wrote as an experience of my own. I've suffered from anxiety since my freshman year of high school. I felt like I was just always over-exaggerating everything. It got worse every year. I could hide it at first until my first panic attack in an intersection with my mom on the highway. My mom didn't know how to react to my anxiety. She would always talk over my freaking out, yell at me, ground me, do things that intensified my anxiety and made things worse. She just didn't know how to handle it. Whenever she witnessed my first panic attack, her words were, "What is wrong with you?" This is when I realized that I needed help. I've taken medication and therapy since that day, and my anxiety is now controlled. I haven't had another panic attack since then. And I learned the hard way that you have to continue to take your medication, and one cannot just stop taking their medication. If one has a loved one with anxiety, then they should become informed about the anxiety that they have and learn to offer positive supports and avoid shaming the person with anxiety. There are many different types of anxiety, but today I'm going to talk to you about 3 of the more serious and common anxiety disorders to inform you and give you an idea of what someone with anxiety goes through every day. The first type of anxiety that we will talk about is called generalized anxiety disorder. The Anxiety and Depression Association of America stated that GAD affects 6.8 million adults in a given year. Almost everyone gets anxious at times, like when having a job interview or taking an important test or sitting in traffic, but whenever the problem's fixed or it's gone, then the anxiety goes away. But for someone with GAD, it doesn't just go away. It's continued, everlasting, long effect, and that's how they feel all the time without treatment. The Mayo Foundation for Medical Education and Research says that someone with GAD experiences persistent worrying or obsession about a small or large concerns that is out of proportion of the impact of the event. Inability to set aside worry or let go of a worry. Inability to relax, and feeling keyed up or on edge at all times. These feelings are a constant feeling or battle inside the person that is hard to understand for an outsider. The second type of anxiety that we will discuss is social anxiety disorder. Developmental psychologist Ellen Pastrino says that social anxiety includes irrational, persistent fear of being negatively evaluated by others in a social situation. For someone with social anxiety, they could be the most hygienic, well-dressed, most liked person in the room, but still feel like when they turn around or walk out the door that people are judging them and talking about them. This is very common in teenagers today because of the acceptance in society of criticizing others or joking around about their friends' flaws to make other people laugh. It may be all fun and games, but to someone who already has social anxiety or is developing social anxiety from prolonged exposure to being criticized, it can take a major toll on the individual's mental health. They may even begin to avoid social situations like school because missing out on their education is worth not going through the agony of being judged and criticized. The last disorder that I'm going to talk to you about is panic disorder. The Anxiety and Depression Association of America concludes that this illness is diagnosed in people who experience spontaneous, seemingly out of the blue panic attacks and are preoccupied with the fear of the returning attack. Panic attacks are closely related to each anxiety disorder. This disorder can seriously interfere with one's everyday life. They may fear of going to a place where they experience an attack or a person who witnessed the attack. Now that we have discussed some different types of anxiety, and you have an understanding of what someone with anxiety might go through, let's talk about ways to offer positive supports. Encourage him or her to get professional help so that they can be properly diagnosed. Once the individual finds the proper treatment for them, then they need to be encouraged to continue the treatment and not to just stop it, because it doesn't heal their anxiety, it only treats it for the time being. You need to realize that someone with anxiety can express anger more than one with anxiety normally would. This is where a therapist can come in handy for the anxiety sufferer to express the way that the individual makes them feel at times, and it can be challenging to be with the person who has this illness, but it's who they are, and if you love them, then you need to realize that it's not yours or their fault. Health scientist Julie Bhatia stated that once you know what type of anxiety disorder your loved one has, try to learn about it as much as possible. If you're trying to understand what they're going through, then they don't feel so alone in this battle. And that is the hardest thing to deal with in anxiety. It's feeling like no one understands and that you're the only one in this battle by yourself. Just like support can help a loved one, or support from a loved one can help the anxiety sufferer, certain behaviors and actions that a loved one expresses can also make the person's anxiety worse. You may feel that the way that they are reacting to anxiety is annoying or uncalled for, and they understand this, they know, but it's not something that they can just stop. And telling them to just stop only makes things worse and gives them a feeling of being not normal. Do not shame your loved one's anxiety. Social worker Bryn Brown defines shame as an intense, painful feeling or experience of believing one is flawed. Your anxious loved one is already struggling with this feeling, and they are damaged and broken. The last thing that they need to feel is being shamed. Shaming could be telling someone that they don't have anxiety, or that they're always over-exaggerating things, or that they're too sensitive, or any comments about their anxiety that would put them down. Do not forget that anxiety is not something that they can control. Once you figure out which anxiety your loved one has, then you should inform yourself about that disorder further than this speech has informed you. There are many sites that talk about anxiety and the ways to deal with it. And there are therapists that can help you cope with your loved one's illness. Encourage treatment to your loved one and always encourage them to continue their treatment. Do not forget to support them by trying to see things from their perspective. Remember that they cannot just stop their anxiety, and you can find ways to help your loved one. There are many strategies other than the ones that I have suggested. Do not give up on them, and thank you for your time.
Alright,
And here's my...
we had to start
Good job,
over,
Rosie.
huh?
Good job.
Yeah, you did good. Oh God, I look fat.